morning.
How's life? Yeah,
Yeah,
how's life, King?
everything's
How's
good, man. No
yeah,
complaints.
sir,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, so all of you out there, before I start my show, don't forget to subscribe to my music page, and also don't forget to subscribe to Dub Master Khan's page.
Hey, before we start, I wanted to say I've been watching you play the drums, man. You're getting
Yeah, thank
good.
you very much.
Keep
Thank you
keep
very
that up.
much.
Keep that
Yes,
up.
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so before we start the show, could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, little facts about yourself?
Yeah, man. So I'm from San Diego, California, originally, born and raised. I moved up here to British Columbia, Canada, about 10 years ago. And in those past 10 years, I've just been, I mean, I work full time, but music is my secondary thing. It's my passion, and you could say my hobby. So something I do on the side. And I just love reggae music, man, like you do.
Yes, sir.
It has impacted my life in a great way. It resonates deep in my heart, and yeah, so I've been producing for about 12 years now. I was in a couple reggae bands back in San Diego, and I was able to learn, from some great people down there. Big up Papa Alms, big up Bry Zion, um, big up Batiki. This African guy taught me how to play the bass long ago. My love for reggae really started when I watched the Wailers play live, and
Mm.
it was Family Man was the only original Wailer at the show, but that just him playing those bass lines that I learned or that I listened to when I was a kid really resonated with me. And my friend Ahmed Papa Ams was like, "Hey man, you want to learn how to play the bass? We could start a band." And so that was like where my love for reggae kind of just started growing, and we learned all the Marley songs and just played live and stuff. And then fast forward 10 years later, when I was having to move up to Canada with my wife, I just produced on my own, and searched people to do free collaborations, and it just kind of skyrocketed from there. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me. One other thing is I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/DM_Kahn. And I do some tutorials and stuff for people that want to get into like producing reggae, mixing reggae, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So, what made you get into reggae music?
Well, I mean, that show, I kind of said the Bob Marley show, not Bob Marley, but the Wailers, because Bob Marley died before I was even born, right? But yeah, just through the influence of my friend Ahmed, and also my seeing that show, just it made me want to learn it.
So, you have made a successful video teaching series on YouTube. So, where you teach on aspects of reggae recordings, really gave you the inspiration to start your channel, start your tutorials and all that.
Yeah, I think the reason why I wanted to start the YouTube thing was, well, it started out just as fun. Um, I think I made my first video that I made was just, okay, I'm making reggae in Logic, and I want to show people that you can make reggae in Logic just using Logic's, you know, instruments that are built in. And if you watch that video, I think it's called Reggae Production Tutorial in Logic, and it's been around for I think like 8 or 9 years now. And it doesn't even show my face; it just shows my screen and kind of what I do. Um, but when I posted that just for fun, it got really good comments and stuff. And people are like, oh, this is awesome. This is so cool. Thank you for sharing, make some more videos. And so I kind of like that kind of resonated with me. And I thought, well, maybe I should do some more. And so then that started my wife went out of town for a week. And so during that week, I set a goal. I said, okay, I'm going to make this whole video series, um, you know, making like a legit reggae song, not just with Logic sounds, but, with like a real guitar and a real bass and stuff, and try to make it sound as good as I can, and show along the way, like the recording process, and talk about how reggae is different than rock music, and those kinds of things. Things that you know you wouldn't normally see on YouTube, because back then, man, there was no reggae content back then. I literally, as traveled through my journey of learning how to produce music, it was more I had to watch videos on rock music or on metal. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of EQ and compression videos that were available on YouTube at that time. So I thought, well, I'm going to do this in a reggae context.
There's a story going around saying that like you were introduced to Bob Marley's album Legend while you were like going on a trip with your family. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So prior to me seeing the Wailers play, um, we used to take long road trips from San Diego, where I lived, like I think it was like 4 or 5 hours down to San Felipe, Mexico. And my mom had Bob Marley Legend. That's the only reggae she had, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
she would bump that the whole way there. And so I knew all those songs when I was like, 6 years old, and I really, really loved it. So that's like where it's kind of started. And then I remember, in high school, I was driving one of my sister's friends, and she was like, why do you like reggae music? She's like, I don't understand it. It sounds so weird to me. And this is like 2002, 2003. And I remember saying to her, uh, I like it because it's actually opposite to rock music. You know what I mean? And and that, like, me saying that actually kind of, I'll always remember that. I don't know why I remember that random memory, but it's true. It is like opposite to rock music, because it's you could call it halftime, or although technically it's not counted in halftime. It's just slower. The one, there's no kick on the one. Uh, there's no emphasis on the start. It's just hi hat. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I love reggae, man. Just because it's so different than rock music. Which, of course, I love rock music. Hey, man, I'm from the States. Even where you live, like, rock music is huge, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, I enjoy all kinds of music, but reggae to me is just like, it's the perfect music. It puts you in a good mood, helps you relax, it lowers your blood pressure, all those things.
Yeah. So could you name some of your favorite reggae drummers?
Oh yeah, for sure. So my top two is Style Scott of the
Mm.
Roots Radics, and Carlton Barrett
Yeah,
of
the
obviously the
Wailers.
Wailers.
Yeah.
And they're so polar opposite, but yet so, you know, just as important. I like to say that Style Scott is my favorite because I love the heaviness of how Style played, and the tone that he would get, and obviously the way that scientists would mix that stuff. That's like the pinnacle of sound, and I think it set the tone for all modern music, whether you know it or not. The techniques that they came up with at Channel One while recording, and the mixing techniques that scientists did, um, at his studio at Tubby's, is just insane. But anyways, back to drumming. I mean, there's a lot of other great drummers. You got a good one that's like still around and playing is Dave Primetime Fitzroy. Um, Fitzroy, Dave, Primetime. Anyways, he's awesome. You got
Sly Dunbar.
yeah, of course, Sly Dunbar. Yeah, him like Sly Dunbar and Style Scott are similar in the fact that they play more of the like syncopated rockers style, and they're both good in their own way. I feel like Sly has maybe more fame than Style Scott, and I don't know why. Yes, Santa Davis for sure. I was thinking Santa in my head. I couldn't remember off the top of my head. Santa Davis is an amazing drummer. He lives in California and he's still playing. He's awesome. Horsemouth Wallace, obviously
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
the movie Rockers. Barnabas is another great Jamaican drummer. Yeah, there's so many good ones, and we live in a time now where all those guys are getting really old, and it's kind of sad. So we need to just keep that going and keep like learning. I'm learning how to play drums too. I got a drum set back there, and I see you are too. And I think that's important, is to keep the legacy going, of the music that we love, because it's timeless.
Yeah. So so basically you have your own project called The Roots Makers. So could you tell us about how the band was formed?
Yeah, so the Roots Makers is comprised of Kerrigan reggae drummer, which if you YouTube search reggae drummer or reggae drumming,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
the first guy that comes up. And I've been watching his drums for years, just in awe. Like, man, that guy's awesome. So I consider myself extremely fortunate to have teamed up with Kerrigan, and he's an amazing guy and an amazing drummer. So that's the drums. I play the bass, and on our last album, I played the guitars as well. But we just employed, I'll say, a new actual legit guitarist, because I'm only so, I'll be honest. And his name is Reggie, and he's an amazingly talented reggae guitarist. so we have an EP coming up in about a month, and 4 tracks, all lovers, rub-a-dub style, heavy drum and bass, and also the original keyboard, the piano slash keys and horn synths and stuff is
Organics.
organics. Yeah.
Yeah.
With love, we can go wrong. I make you feel it with my song. 'Cause I don't want to wait too long. So it's better to reveal it.
And he just like he's like a classically trained, I don't know about classically trained, but like he can play classical music, you know all kinds of like jazz, and like he's a
Mm.
legit keyboard, pianist. He's a legit pianist. So and then my main instrument is bass, so it makes sense for me to play bass and to do the mix because I think that's what I'm best at. So it's like a super group, man, and I'm not trying to be cocky, but the people in the group outside of myself are insanely talented. So I feel fortunate to be able to play bass and to mix that. So how it came to be was I was on YouTube watching Carrigan Reggae Drummer's channel, and there was a video where he was talking about reggae toms. How do you tune them? How do you play them? And then at one point in the video, he says, "Oh, and then you take the toms, and then the mix engineer takes it from there, and then he elevates the sound from there." And I thought, I could do that. I could be that guy. So I commented. I said, "Hey, man, we should do a collaboration. I'll mix your stuff." And he sent me the individual tracks of an amazing drum performance recording that he had. And I ended up making a video series with it, with those drums. I built a whole rhythm around it, and I even got my buddy Rafi, amazing singer, to sing on it. So there's a cool video series on my YouTube channel called Mixing Live Reggae Drums, and then Mixing the Rhythm section. And I go through my whole process on how I mixed everything to get that kind of classic, rockers. I'll say like we were going for, kind of a Roots Radix Scientist vibe, but obviously you can't perfectly recreate that thing because we aren't the Roots Radix and we aren't scientists, but obviously we are inspired by that sound is inspiring, and there's nothing wrong trying to tap into what they were doing and make it your own. So I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. So basically, I think it was a month ago, I was listening to this song that you mixed called Lover's Tune. So
Hmm.
could you tell us about how it all started?
Yeah, so Lover's Tune really, I'll say, boosted the awareness of me. Boost people know about me as a producer. I mean, from YouTube, but before YouTube, it was Lover's Tune, and there's something really, really amazing about Hawaii. You know, just like Jamaica, it is obviously an island, and there's that island vibe that those people live, and there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about what is it like to live on an island, you know what I mean? Um, and so how that transpired was I was just looking for people to collaborate with, right? I made one song called Roots and Culture, and that was with a MC slash singer called Kanakaman, and he's in a band called Kapu System, and actually you guys
Oh
should
yeah,
check
yeah,
those out.
yeah.
Yeah, so Kanakaman is actually the first guy that I collaborated with, and I honestly don't remember. I think it was via SoundCloud. I posted some stuff, and and through SoundCloud you can post comments on songs. So I have some old songs on SoundCloud. I haven't posted there in like 5 years or so, but um, I think he commented on a song that I did, and then he emailed me his contact, and I hit him up and I said, "Hey man, you want to just do a collab?" And that ended up being a really cool song called Roots and Culture. It's on my SoundCloud. You should check it out. It's really old. Like, you can tell I didn't know a lot about like technical, mixing and production at that point, but the vibes are there. You know what I mean? And the vocal is just fire, man. It's basically a song about, being on the island, about his roots and culture, and he just bigs up all his friends. He's like Dougie from Humble Soul. He says DM Kahn. He just names all his friends in this, and it's just it's kind of like a freestyle track. But that one made it on the radio in Hawaii. He showed it to all his buddies. Some of them were on the radio and radio DJs, and they played that song, and it was on the radio for like a year, I think. And I never officially released it. It was like bootleg style, which was really kind of cool.
Roots restoration. Mission, roots restoration. Oh gosh, mission, roots restoration. In the country where vibes so strong, aloha aina the theme of this song. In the city where roots belong, unite our people on
led to me meeting Kapena Mokiao through Kanakamon. They're buddies, they're buds, and so I don't remember exactly how, but I got linked up with Kapena, and I sent him like I think 3 rhythms. And the interesting thing about working with artists, if you don't know this, is like in my experience, I've built hundreds of rhythms in my tenure as a rhythm maker, but I'll send them to people, and if it's not the right vibe and it doesn't resonate with them, often you won't get a vocal back. You know what I mean? So I sent Kapena 3 songs, and one of them was Lover's Tune. And that song is very stripped down. There's nothing really special about it. There's like the progression is cool because it's like sevenths and kind of that Lovers vibe. But like there's like a simple little piano line, da da
Mm.
da 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 da. You know, it's really just simple. But what he did with the track is just absolutely insane vocally. He's like a R&B soulful singer, you know, and he's like, tonight, you know, I'm not a singer, but just it gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. Still to this day, I get
Yeah.
goosebumps, and that's because of the vocal performance on that song. You know, I was just the vehicle to get it there and to inspire him, you know, but Kapena Mokiao took that smooth, you know, R&B vocal, and he put it onto the Lover's Tune rhythm, and he made it what it was. And I'm forever in debt to him. We actually working on right now for the Roots Makers EP. Kapena Mokiao is coming out to be on another Lovers rock vibe, but this time it's like a heavy minor Lovers
Yeah.
rock, almost like a breakup vibe. So we got the Lovers Tune and then the like breakup tune, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how that all started. But yeah, big up Kapena, man.
Yeah. Okay, so could you name some of your top? Could you name like some of your top reggae albums?
Oh man, that's so hard. Obviously, like Legend is it
Yeah. Yeah.
has to be there. I mean, that's not even like a real Bob Marley album. I would have to say Catch a Fire if I had to choose
Yeah.
any Bob album, because it just has like that raw, like the rawness and the legitimate like beginnings
Yeah.
of what the Wailers did. Some of my favorite albums are like a lot of the erratic stuff, like Night Nurse, you know, Gregory
Oh, yeah.
Isaacs. I also like Rootsman Skanking by Bunny Wailer is another good one.
Black Heart, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blackheart, man.
I got Freddie McGregor, Big Shit.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course, man. Like anything that was backed by the Roots Radics in the 80s, you know,
Yeah.
is just instantaneously there, you know,
Yeah.
for me. But
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, how many instruments do you know how to play?
so I'm gonna say one. I play the bass guitar. Like I could play a live show on the bass, no problem. I've been playing it for years, since I was in high school. So like 16, 17 years. But I can get around with recording piano, you know, organs, guitar, various percussions. And yeah, and drums. I'm learning the drums. I've been playing the drums for 8 months now. 8 months and 3 days. I started with that hi-hat right there. And then I slowly brought the kit in and pieced it together. And I built it from a kit, like it was just a piece of shells and hardware. And I just put it together. I bought the kit real cheap. Of course, then I had to buy microphones and all that. But yeah, now I'm finally set up for like, I have 11 microphones on this drum kit, and I'm fully set up to do like legit recordings. And I'm really excited to be able to like provide that as a service to people, is to make full rhythms with live drums. That's the goal. That's the dream, right?
Yeah. Okay, so reggae had gained in popularity in the US over the years, and there are large reggae festivals in places such as California, for example. So, how does the US reggae scene compare to Jamaica?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not too hip to what's going on in Jamaica right now with reggae. I think there's going to be a resurgence in it because now um, I think I think Tough Gong actually has a
Mm.
pressing plant now that's coming back into service on Jamaica, and I think that's gonna bring back the reggae because I know that for a long time it was like the dance hall thing, and very digital, which it's I'm not a huge fan of, but I like the '80s reggae, that's like what I
Yes, sir.
love, '70s and '80s reggae. But anyways, to kind of contrast that to California, I can speak a little bit more to that. Um, the vibe now in California is it's interesting. I'm friends with a few of the bands and stuff that play like the Cali Roots festivals, and um, there's a very kind of distinct split in vibes of those songs. You'll have like the legends that play, like you'll have Don Carlos play, but then you'll have like Tribal Seeds and all of the kind of, we call them Cali reggae bands, right? And so it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition of like modern reggae and the legends and like the old school kind of reggae. Um, so yeah, I mean, they kind of live harmoniously. I don't think it's like exactly fair that the headliners are the Cali reggae bands, but at the same time, I understand it from a marketing perspective. Like I'd like to see Don Carlos as like the headliner, but it's often like Soja, which is a more modern reggae band. And yeah, I'm trying to be politically correct here because I'm friends. Like I don't hate Cali reggae. I have love for all reggae. I don't produce that kind of reggae, but I've done some mixes for some of that stuff. And it's all about the vibe, and it's all about keeping reggae alive. And there's so many different types, and it all stemmed from Jamaica, and then it made its way worldwide through Bob Marley and other artists, Peter Tosh, um, Sly and Robbie, you know, they all made it around the world. And so that's where it's funny to see like the seeds that they planted all over the world. And like you look at the UK reggae scene, in the 80s, it was the Jamaicans that came to the UK, and
Yeah.
then they made it their own sound. And actually the UK reggae, take Lover's Tune for example, that's a straight up UK lovers rock song, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I know I went off on kind of a tangent, but yeah, man, it's cool. I'm really glad that reggae music is still alive and well and playing festivals. And it's like now that COVID is kind of seeing its end in the States, it's so cool to see all of the bands on Instagram, playing out live like Red Rocks, and um, the California reggae is just gonna blow up. It's gonna be bigger than it ever was.
Yeah. Okay, so when is the Roots Cause album coming out? So when is the next reggae album from Roots Maker coming out?
Yeah, so we're hoping to release the 4-track EP. It'll be 8 tracks because I'll do 4 dubs of it as well. Mid-August, so in a month and a half. Right now I have 1 track that's completely finished. Like it's done. I'm waiting for vocals from 3 different people. Two of those rhythms are complete. One more we're still working on, and yeah, it's really awesome just how we're doing it. Those 3 guys, 3 of the 4 roots makers live in France. And we just Kerrigan, reggae drummer, just to pump his tires again. He recorded 14 drum tracks in one day. So we have more drum tracks to work with later. So we're taking 4 of those, and we did some pre-production before he went to the studio. And so yeah, we're gonna it's gonna be a great EP. People are gonna love it. And this time we have vocalists, which is even cooler. You know, the last album was 8 tracks with just, you know, pure vocals, and then also 8 dubs. So that was a big undertaking for a breakout album. But we are doing great. Also, like, we're generating streams and YouTube, and so we've actually been able to and with the sale of the stems as well, we've been able to make that a little bit of money and put that into pressing the vinyl. Actually, we have 100 copies of the vinyl of the first one. I just saw the photos of them today. So there will be a very limited amount of vinyls that people can purchase. And then we were able to take some of that money that we made from that to also pay the vocalists a little bit of money for their time for the next project. And we're not talking a lot of money here, like, don't get me wrong, but it keeps, you know, we're able to to make just enough money to keep going, you know. And that's cool that we're not having to pour money into it, but it's like kind of self-sustaining to just keep going. And that's all the goal is like, we don't want to lose money doing this. We just want to make it for the love and not have to, like, you know, invest into it. But when you start out, like, you know, it's to be expected, I think, that you have to invest into it. So yeah, it's been great so far.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you compare digital instruments and plugins to Teal Instruments analog equipment?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely a difference. You know, I just want to set it straight. There's nothing better than a group of well-trained musicians playing in one place, recorded at the same time. Right? There's nothing better than that. But it's not impossible to make a good song completely digitally. So if you say, okay, real musicians recorded in one place is the best, digital recorded by one person is the worst, it doesn't mean that this one can't be more popular than this one if this one is produced better than this one. You know what I'm saying? So I want to be encouraging to the person on this side. If you are just getting started and you want to make music and you want to produce and you have, you know, say $500 as a budget to get started, you can do that, you know, assuming you have a computer, right? Like, let's not let money be the reason that you don't get started in it. If you have a desire to do it, do it. I implore you to do it. And there's resources out there. Like, there's great sounding virtual instruments, right? So when I started, there were not good drum samples for reggae. They didn't exist, you know? So what I ended up doing was actually renting a drum kit and sampling it myself. And through a lot of trial and error, my sound, my digital sound, right? No real drums and stuff, made a big improvement. And it wasn't just the drum sounds. There were better piano plugins and VSTs and better horn plugins that I eventually invested in to make my sound better and better and better. But I want to say this, there's no shortcut. Just because you have good sounding sounds and virtual instruments doesn't mean that it's going to be great. You have to put in the time to learn the piano and fumble through it like I did, and learn the guitar and fumble through it like I did. I will say that real bass and real guitar are something that you should invest in if you want your sound to be better. The rest can be done digitally. There's Rubba Drum, which is a cool drum plugin by Westfinga. It's a full-on VST that you can put in, and you can just, it's ready to play, you know? Or I sell drum samples for $50. You can hit me up, and I sell a kit, which a lot of people have. I've sold it to like 200 people or something over the last 4 years, and I've heard some really great songs come out of those. So basically, but what I want to say is, like, there's no shortcuts. Put in the time, learn your craft, and with good sounds, you can really make something awesome. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, could you tell the audience like two things you like about Carlton Barrett? Like, you know, like in the 1980s, he transformed his drumming to electric drum. So, like, could you tell us a little bit about the things you like about his drumming?
The thing that I love about Carlton Barrett's drumming is the feel. There is nobody on planet Earth that can play the way that Carlton Barrett played. I mean, okay, I should actually eat my words, because his nephew is the only one that gets, like, you know, 99%.
Yeah, Aston Barrett Jr.
Yeah, I saw you had him on the show. I was like, man, that's so cool. Good for you, man. And good for him too. I follow him on Instagram. And I remember the first time I heard him playing, I was like, man, that is the vibe, right? But he's blood, you know what I mean? That's why. It's because he's blood, right? And he's even said that. But yeah, it's the feel, and obviously it's the way that how he plays his snare, how he tunes his snare, and how he plays his snare. That, you know, that sound. I have spent days trying to figure out that sound, and I think I'm pretty close. I don't tell anyone the secret, even though I don't really know the secret, but I pretend like I do. But yeah, it's like how he, but the other thing is, like, how he plays his fills never gets in the way of Bob or the song. You know what I mean? He plays these intricate, you know what I mean? Like all of those fills, but they never get in the way. You know, I've been trying to learn that vibe. You know, it's got a ton of swing in that stuff. And the band around him, the Wailers, they all played to that swing, and it was very different than other music, I think, that was being played. I think they accentuated the swing even more than what was already going on with, like, the mento and the ska from that day. You know what I mean? From who he probably learned the drums from, right? And also he listened to a lot of Latin music. So the sound of that snare, I think, is inspired by the Latin music that he would play, or that he would listen to.
Yeah. Okay, so basically back then in the 1960s, the early 1960s and 70s, we had people like Lee Scratch Perry, we had people like Errol Brown, we had we had loads of people that came into the industry mixing like the big tunes and all that. So what person influenced you to, you know, to mix all the, mix reggae tunes and all that? So, like,
for sure. For me, the two biggest famous people that did that music, I think that's what you're asking, like, which artists inspired me to want to do dub? It would be King Tubby and Scientist. You know, I got a lot of dub albums from a buddy years ago, and it was King Tubby and Scientist. You know, I mean, obviously, yeah, Lee Scratch Perry, but if I'm being honest, I don't think I think he started a lot of things, and he inspired Tubbies and obviously Scientist, but I don't think he didn't fully get it. like King Tubby and Scientists, they took it to the next level. You know what I mean? They really took that and fine-tuned the effects that they were using and the techniques that they would come up with. You know, I think that Scientist undoubtedly is the best dub mixer that has ever lived. So but then to kind of twist the question is, who personally showed me was my friend Brian. He goes by Bry Zion, and we were in a band together at one time. He played guitar and I played bass, but he had a studio and still does in San Diego, and I would go over to his house and he would show me his like live dub rig, and I was like, man, I have to learn that. That, to me, all of those, like the West Finga filter, you know, the Tubby's filter and the outboard reverbs and delays and all that stuff, like I've been obsessed with that sound, as many people have, just to learn like what are those sounds, how do you get those sounds. But yeah, Bry Zion was a big influence on me and actually physically showed me how he did it, you know, and a lot of people don't get that one-on-one, you know, class, if you will. And so that's partly why I like to teach, you know, is like, this is like kind of I want to get rid of the mysticism to dub and to reggae, you know, because it's like, yes, it's very technical and like it's the routing of the board and how do you route all the effects and stuff, but it's not that difficult really if you have the stuff, and you can even do it digitally, right? Bry Zion has this cool MIDI controller that he does all his dubs, and they do dubs live, and there's more live dubbing that's going on in concerts and stuff now and pre-COVID. So yeah, more people are getting into dub, and I think that's really cool because it's really you know, it's really like evolved kind of, you know, from what it was to what it is now, but it's still like the root of it is still like King Tubby's and Scientist and yeah, Lee Scratch Perry, like one of the originators, you know?
This is my last question to you before I go. So basically, what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into reggae producing or production?
I would say just do it for the love of it. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, you know? It takes a lot of work. Like anything in life, if you want to learn how to produce reggae music, you're going to have to know that it's going to take you 10,000 hours, 20,000 hours to get really good at it. You know, if you listen to my first song, it was not good. It was made in GarageBand with horrible MIDI sounds, and my timing was terrible. But you know what? I listened back to it and it's actually not that bad. You know what I mean? Like the ideas of what I wanted to do because I love that music were in my head. And if you have that and you can understand critical listening and that kind of stuff, then you just do it. You write down a list of what you make and how you want it to sound better, right? And then you try to make your next song and you try to make one thing a little bit better. Okay, my piano's going to sound better on this one, or on the next one. Okay, I'm going to use a real guitar. I'm going to buy a cheap used guitar and figure out how I can DI it into my interface and do an amp model and get it dialed in. You know what I mean? And then, okay, on the next song, I'm going to learn how to get a good reverb sound. But like the main thing is just put in the work, right? There's great resources out there for teaching. There's a lot of reggae content on YouTube now, you know? Yeah, the feel. Also, that's a good point. When you're trying to make it, you have to listen to the original stuff and try to recreate the feel of it. It's not easy to do, but it's possible to do. I can make a digital drum passable that it sounds like a real person. You know what I mean? It's possible. It's not easy, but it's possible. So just know, number one, know that it's going to take you a lot of effort. And then once you know that, number two is dive in and just do it. Do the thing and practice, practice, practice. Number three is try to get better at one thing at a time every song. And because you only get better by doing. And number four is be encouraged. During this process, you're going to feel highs and lows, right? You're going to come out with a song and you're going to be so jazzed, and you're going to want to show all your friends, and you're going to show all your friends, and the honest ones will say, well, you got some work to do. Most people will just be like, sounds good. But find the friend that will tell you, this is cool, but work on this, and this. Because that'll make you better, right? You don't want the people that just say, sounds good, right? Because they don't, either they don't know or they don't care, you know? And then, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I think, my advice. Is just stick with it, because there's going to be downtimes, right? Where you're going to get the feedback back and you're going to go, oh man, am I even good at this? And it happens with every artist, man. I don't care if you're a painter, even a writer, you know, you write a book and you think it's garbage, right? It's just the nature of being an artistic person, right? You're going to have peaks and valleys, but just like right now, for example, YouTube, I haven't made a video in over a month and my views are trending down, right? And so I could be like, oh, this sucks. But you know what? It's peaks and valleys, man. Like when I get the time and the energy to put out another video, I'm going to be into it 100%. I'm going to be on the rise. You know what I mean? And when it comes out, I'm going to feel good and I'm going to help people. And that's what it's about, you know? So just stay encouraged is my other piece of advice. And number one, and somebody just commented this, all for the love. Do it because you love to do it, because you love reggae. Do it because you want to make it. Do it because that's the music that you love, you know? And that's what should be your motivator. It's not like, oh, I'm going to make this rhythm and it's going to make all this money and blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not about the money, man. You know, for me, I've been doing it for 12 years. I charge people to mix because I work full time. I can't just, like, I have a tiny amount of time in this studio, you know what I mean? So I want to make it worth my time as a mid-30s person, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. When you get to a point where your music is good enough that you can sell it. There's nothing wrong with that, you know what I mean? Don't sell yourself short, right? So I'm going to end with that. But thank you so much, man, for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much as well. Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you very much for giving us this great reasoning today. Thank you very much, and have a very great day. And yes, I'll be looking forwards to your new EP coming out. So thank you very much, and God bless. Thank you,
man. Bless you. Peace.
Bless.